Good day to all. How are you guys doing? Happy Monday. And today is the 22nd of February 2021. And welcome to Monday's Bretton's Financial Trading Academy Monday's webinar. So we'll be talking a little bit about the Monday's outlook, but not only that, it's the whole week's a week ahead, basically. So I want to actually share with you guys on what I expect to see in terms of movements in the market, and also to look at trading opportunities, risk events as well, and various other things. So just before that, I want to I hope you guys can see my screen right here, and we are on the Facebook Bretton Financial Trading Academy, or BFTA Facebook page, and do like it and also invite friends over here, and we will make sure that we have loads of information on here to read and also to be guided on to my webinars as well. So we'll have Bretton's Academy's webinars on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We want to take a look at the market. So let's just get into it on a heat map that I often use just to give me a bit of an idea on the sentiments of the market, trends especially. So you will see a very simple layout of a heat map here that I've been using for years already. It's divided into the Asian sessions as well as the European sessions. Now, it is really important for us to firstly start with sentiments in the market, trends, just as an overall outlook, to know which are the strongest trend to the upside, which pairs are getting stronger, which currencies are getting stronger or weaker in terms of various time frames. It's really important for us to look at that as a generic sort of outlook first before we enter into the MT4 or your MT5 to conduct your technical analysis and all that kind of thing. So we want to actually start with a heat map like this, and it's divided, as I've mentioned, to Asian sessions and European sessions. Now, you want to keep it really simple in just looking at all these bars that are the longest and the most active. Now, you can actually see in this column right here, we have longer bars, and that happen to be the green bars. And we've got an arrow there that indicates USD CHF, but this entire area right here on this column is showing us a lot of buying opportunities, or a lot of maybe not buying opportunities as yet, because we need to go on to the technical analysis side of it to confirm. But then in terms of participation, there's a lot of participation onto all the other pairs against the CHF. So on CHF pairs, but because it's on a green right here, it actually shows us that most of the other currencies are actually more bullish, very bullish. For example, the USD is very bullish against the CHF, but all these groupings here and here are actually against the CHF. So that basically means that CHF is much weaker today. So CHF is weak. JPY seem to be also on the weak side as well. As you can see, all the groupings are revolving JPY. All the other currencies are actually stronger than JPY. So what does this mean? This means that the market is on a risk on market, not a risk off market. If they were to actually be buying the CHF and buying the JPY, that basically means it's a risk on market. So they are not being careful or less risky in the market. Majority of traders and investors today, as of today, are actually on a risk on. They've got more risk appetite. So they are not bothering about CHF, JPY. They're not buying the safe havens like CHF, JPY, or even gold. So we might be looking at a little bit of corrective move of gold as well, even though we are looking at a lot of buying going on onto the chart, right? But then, as we can actually see, we want to be sure of what fundamental factors may be out there to actually control the whole market and situation with currency pairs. So we want to pick the right currency pairs to trade together with the current trend, and be able to actually know as well for the whole week, what are the risk events, what are the data releases, what are the news that we would actually be expecting in terms of momentum, liquidity, and also risk to the market. So this will then help us to understand for all the pairs, for the pairs and the instruments that we are picking, whether or not to actually pick it based on an intraday type trade. Is it better on scalping side? Is it better on medium term or even long term? So that is how we actually would scout the market for trends and also risk events, because they are the fuel for the market to actually move, whether to move on short term, not very much, or like a marathon of trends. So that is how we want to look at the market as of today, for the whole week, beginning 22nd today right up to Friday. Okay, so as we can actually see, just looking at the big bars itself right here, there's a lot of concentration on CHF pairs, but then CHF is looking really weak. So this is another thing that you guys can actually write down, is to start venturing onto your chart for CHF pairs. And as you can see, the arrow here points to USD CHF, meaning that the USD CHF, USD is really strong, looking like it's very bullish against the CHF. So are we able to find opportunities there on the USD CHF, or even all the other pairs against all the other currencies against the CHF, is what we can actually write down all these ones here and venture out and start doing our analysis on the MT4 chart. Okay, so that's basically one way of doing it. Now, the other thing as well is when we look into a heat map like this, I've got a free version of the heat map as well right here. And you can see that if we go into the 4-hour chart, let's say, or even the daily chart, what you want to do is that you want to look into the generic heat map first and look for which time frame offers you more clarity in terms of whether or not any one column are all dark red or dark blue. Like, for example, if I go into the 4-hour chart, comparing it to the daily chart, on the daily chart, I've got this column right here under CHF that is all dark blue, right? But the rest has got a mix of colors and all that. So I want to look into CHF, and CHF, it looks like it's all blue, right? But it doesn't mean that CHF is bullish. It means that all the currencies on the left here is much more bullish or very bullish against the CHF. So that is what it means. Okay, so this does actually mirror with what we have seen here. Okay, so it does actually look like CHF is really weak and all the other currencies are overtaking it and are quite bullish. So that means you are buying other currencies compared to the CHF. So let's focus on CHF alone, and let's look into CHF right here. And you can see that you have opportunities with regards to, not opportunities to just go and buy or go and sell right now. It's opportunity for you to do a further analysis, and you want to do a trend analysis together with technical analysis. So once you have actually picked the pair, let's say we have talked a little bit about USD versus CHF, right? So you can write down USD CHF. Then you got the next one here that is all red as well. And the next one to look at is the Euro CHF as well. Okay, Euro CHF. Then you have got GBP CHF as well. So I've got I'm writing it down as I speak as well. Okay, so you guys can do the same, GBP CHF. But I'm leaving out CAD, AUD, and NZD because I prefer to go for analyzing the pairs that would actually give me all these one color type columns, not the ones that has mixed colors. Okay, so this is really important. So what we can also do is to look into volatility of CHF, because now we are focusing on CHF a little bit. So let's go on to top movers as well to look into what are the favorite currency pairs that are traded as of today. Okay, so we've got top movers right there. Now we can look into it based on the 4-hour chart first. Now, when you look into the 4-hour chart itself, you want to look at this area right here. You want to look at the dots. If all 4 columns are having all dots there, that would probably be better. Now here, for example, I wouldn't look into USD CAD so much as the top mover, only because the trend is not very clear. For me, it has to be down to the trend. Even though you see USD CAD is actually on top of the list between 1 to 10, but you want to actually trade pairs that are having a longer marathon of trend, like this one here or this one here, meaning that USD CHF would probably be better for you to pick. So we've already written that down, I think USD CHF earlier on, right? And it's second on the list, but it's got better clarity in terms of its trend because you've got the dot on the 4-hour chart, on the daily chart, and the weekly chart. So this would probably be better. Now, what's your second choice? Would actually be the Euro CHF. We've already written that one down as well. So that's based on the heat map earlier on. So this is a good sign that it's actually in sync for what we have picked. So far, we've actually picked USD CHF, Euro CHF, and GBP CHF. Okay, so then what I would also look into is go on to your volatility chart right here. And on the volatility chart itself, you focus on the CHF and you go on to the 4-hour plus the daily chart just to look at the CHF on the daily chart and the 4-hour chart. The purple part here is the daily chart. I would like to look at CHF versus which of these currencies are most volatile, giving you the most opportunity. So here it shows me that we have GBP and we have AUD, because all this purple area is closest and basically has this part being shaded, and it goes to GBP closest and AUD. So that basically means that the AUD CHF is also one of the currencies you can actually look at into buying as well versus CHF, but it's not just go and buy right now. We need to do an analysis based on these 4 pairs now: your AUD CHF, USD CHF, your Euro CHF, and also your GBP CHF. But AUD CHF and GBP CHF would most probably offer the most volatility. That means you would experience it going up and down and a lot of movements in the market based on that. A lot of movement, a lot of volatility also means a lot of opportunity, but with the opportunity and the movement that is very volatile comes a risk as well. So you want to plan that really well. So that also means that AUD CHF, GBP CHF may be the ones moving quite a lot. Okay, so let's also marry all these information up with what you would be looking at in the economic calendar. Now, for the economic calendar this week, we are looking at loads of movements, loads of very nice data coming out for the whole week. But I would see that Wednesday would be the busiest as well, and it would impact NZD. So I'm also focusing on a lot of research on NZD this week, and it looks like NZD is going to experience a lot of bullishness. Okay, so it would also be wise to look into NZD pairs as well, and maybe NZD versus the CHF, because the CHF, as we have seen earlier on, is really very, very weak. So we've got NZD that is expected to be very, very bullish. And also we've seen the heat map, and we have seen that there's a lot of bullishness, a lot of bearishness on the CHF, and most of the other currencies, including the NZD CHF, is quite bullish. Now we are looking at all these area versus the CHF here on the Asian session. Now we're coming into the European session, and on the European session, we've got an arrow and we've got the highest bar on the USD CHF. So that actually means that what we can do is that when we move into the chart right here, we can go straight onto USD CHF to do the analysis. So let me just go onto the market watch right here, and then you have got your USD CHF. So we've got USD CHF right there. Okay. So I've got a preferred platform at the moment. I'm using the bkfx.io trading platform because of the range of currency pairs and also instruments that they have. But most importantly, the trading conditions seem to be quite good, and I've got nice feeds as well, and also I'm actually educating most of my community and traders based on the bkfx.io trading platform on a live account. So you guys can actually see it as trading signals as well, and sort of manually copy the trade idea that I am presenting today. So here you go, guys. You've got USD CHF, and as you can see, we are on the 1 hour chart, but let's go on to the 4 hour chart as well. And number one thing to do is to always have the three lines in there. I've got the three EMAs. I've got the 50, 100, 200 as usual, but I've added on the 8 exponential moving average as well, just to give me an extra sort of sharpness in terms of the trend. So I'm not using any of the any of the EMAs as entries or exits. I'm just using it as a trend indicator. Okay. So as we see on the daily, on the 4 hour chart itself, we've got a nice movement up here. We've got candles, majority, they're above all the 4 lines, especially the 3 lines. And then now it's above the 8 EMA as well, which is a very good indication. Just looking to the left itself, I know that I've got some thread here and I've got some thread here for reversal. So what I do is immediately I just want to put the thread on it first to look at the resistance level, resistance zone right there. So I know that, okay, you've got some room right there. But also we've also got this area right here. Now this is based on your 4 hour chart anyway. So I want to also do that line there. Okay. So when you have done these resistance area based on this one here and this one here, just by looking to the left, you know that you've got some space if you were to buy that only exists between here and here, which gives you about 20 over pips only there. Okay. Because now the current candle on the 4 hour chart is giving me an indication of a chance of reversal, which basically means that it is seen from the wick of the candle right here. The longer the wick of the candle at the very top gives us the signal that it is exhausted in terms of its power to go up further. Okay. But here, I mean, with the bird's eye view itself, you have got the ABCD pattern right there. You've got an AB here potential, the B to C potential right here as well. Okay. And then C to D could potentially extend higher to that area up there above the resistance that I pointed out right there. Okay, so this is just a potential, but what we want to be understanding is whether or not the current price and trend can actually surpass all these levels of risk. Okay, so this is just USD CHF. So this is how we want to plan whether or not should we actually trade it, should we actually look into pending orders and things like that. Most importantly is look at the trend. I mean, trend itself looks quite good in terms of the bullishness. Okay, for the 1 hour chart, in terms of the candles itself, not too bad. But in terms of the way the 3 lines are actually moving, even on the 4 hour chart, I don't see the excitement of the 3 lines really strong to the upside. Then I compare that to the daily chart. And what I see is that it's not really a nice long-term type plan to keep buying the USD CHF, mainly because I see that it's in between all these 3 lines as well. So let's stick to the 1 hour and the 4 hour chart. And then we know that, yes, you may have some buying opportunity. It looks like a very nice pattern to the upside, but it's not a very strong, solid pattern as well, mainly because it's not in a good trend section. If the trend is really strong on all 3 time frames, 1 hour, 4 hour, and daily, then you've got more room to expect further move. But as we see right now, even on the 1 hour chart, you see that single candle body is actually just dwindling and becoming smaller and leaving the wick to be longer. So that means that it's got, it's trying to run further to the upside, but it is experiencing a little bit of an exhaustion as well, exhausted with the momentum and trend. So this is where I would then decide not to actually be overexcited with the buy, because we probably have got about 20 pips right here, but we don't know whether or not it would even go to that 20 pips right there. So what I would then do is to look at what are the alternative scenario. The alternative scenario is for it to turn back down, USD to become weaker, and then we want to check all the USD pairs as well, whether or not the USD index as well is getting weaker. If USD is getting bigger, then getting weaker in all the other pairs as well, then it's giving us an opportunity as well to sell USD pairs, but also to buy gold. And then we need to confirm and look into gold's position as well, based on our analysis days ago or weeks ago. And then we want to follow up on that analysis and look at the current positioning of sellers and buyers in within that instrument, like gold, or whether it's USD pairs or euro pairs and various others. But as of today, I see that the opportunity leans towards CHF pairs, and also we want to look into how the other commodities, mainly like gold, are performing, mainly because we have loads of news revolving the price of copper. Price of copper is connected a lot to industrial usage. So in order for you to mine gold, you need to mine copper first, and then you find a little bit of gold, you see. So then copper is said to be is going to be more and more how you call that, it will fall in its supply, because you don't have much supply, but you've got a lot of demand. So that is going to rise the price of copper. Now, copper is correlated with a lot of other precious metal as well, and that is why you see that you've got certain currencies, like commodity currencies, like Australia dollar going up and up and up as of last week as well, because they have announced that copper is getting more and more rare. It's not that easy anymore to get more and more copper. So it's got a sort of like a limited lifeline for copper. And Australia is one of the producers as well. And then we got China getting back into economic what do you call that, movements. Their factories are open and all that, and they use a lot of copper to produce things.